Hello and welcome back to this one chunk challenge. Now, it has been a little while since I've been here, so let's go ahead and take a look around and see what we have done and what needs to be done. I believe this is something I did last episode, and it does still work quite well. I seem to have gotten my food situation somewhat taken care of, probably because of all of the bones. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe last episode we actually ended off on something quite exciting. But I believe the exciting thing was these guys right here. So I believe this is going to be the spot that I make just a little farming area, just so as they can have a spot to, well, to breed. And I think that is going to be the initial plan for this episode, is just get set up for doing the basic stuff, which is I need tools. These are not cutting it anymore. And that's going to come from all of our villagers here, because I actually haven't found any diamonds whatsoever. But once I get the villagers, then I can start really moving forward, hopefully even get a looting sword, so that when I do eventually find Blaze, hopefully I can almost guarantee at least one Blaze rod out of it. So let's just take a few minutes to make this place just a little bit more inviting and really a lot more safe for these guys, so that they can get started on breeding me an army. And we have this just little farm area all set up. You'll see the beds, which I don't know how he got over there, but the beds are outside of the chunk, but I stayed in the chunk while I was placing it. And you'll notice this goes all the way down. It actually goes all the way down to the very bottom. So let's go ahead and take just a little detour down there, and we will show you what exactly we have going on. And we are here. Once again, I've done some excavating, and in the process, found some diamonds, finally. But this is what we're here for, really. We need to upgrade him a few times, which I am half tempted to use up basically every bit of my iron to do just that. And then we have the Fletchers, just to get our emeralds. Of course, the plan is to have a lot of these villagers, and we're going to just continue up with this. And I want in the middle this eventually to be an area for an iron farm. In fact, that might actually should be the next thing that we do, just considering we have all of these villagers just waiting for us. But let's take a look inside here. You'll notice we've got this going all the way over there. In fact, if I can try to do this without getting out of the chunk, we can actually look up, and theoretically, the villagers should slowly, ever so slowly, make their way all the way through here and into here. In fact, I think there's a couple of things I need to do to make them go a little bit better, but as they fill up these places, of course, I will add even more, and it's going to make everything about this just a little bit easier. Now, the big issue that I have is going to be with finding bookshelves, because I don't have any sugarcane, none whatsoever. So the question is, how do I get books? Because that's really what I'm going to end up needing. And the answer is actually found back over here. The answer is right there. I can actually reach these. And actually, well, instead of just talking about it, let's go ahead and do it. Because I think this is something that I'm going to want to get done sooner rather than later. And now that we have the fishing rod, we can once again slowly... How did he get back out of here? Oh, well, that's unfortunate. I think we're gonna have to take care of this. Alright. Well, now that we have this, we can make our way ever so slowly down. And I'm gonna have to time eventually how long this takes, because it does take an awful long time to get down there. But that's going to be for a different day. You'll notice my chicken farm seems to have sprung a leak. At least it means we have chickens. So we'll take it. Now that we've made it all the way down, let's just try for a little proof of concept here. So if we put that there, we should... ever so slowly be able to get that over. I've got 41 shots, so let's see if we can get this done. Oh. Try this again. And we have it. So now we actually have enough to make a bookshelf, and I am going to put this right here for safekeeping because I'm not quite ready to make it. Well, you know how I said I was going to look up a way to make an iron farm? Yeah, I didn't do that. Instead, I looked up and saw that Hytale had come out and downloaded that and have been playing that for the past couple of days. So I think I am just going to make just your standard little iron farm right here. I did, of course, make an iron pick just to make my life a little bit easier, but this is going to be the idea. Just make sure I've got a steady supply of iron coming in. And because I do have an iron pick, now I can actually get some of these diamonds. And that is with one of these. And this. And I think we're done. So let's go ahead and just clear out our area here so that we can make our iron farm. No, in reality, the most important thing for me is going to be the diamond pickaxe. Of course, I did actually waste all of that one diamond for the jukebox, and I do have plenty of music discs, so it is useful, but just to make my life a little bit easier, I think we are just going to try to bang this out as fast as we can. So let's do that once again, and then once I'm done hollowing out this and probably the layer up above, I'll be back. And after about 15 minutes of AFK and some spawn proofing, I do now have a completely automatic way to get iron, which is just glorious. But now is the time for basically what I kind of am dreading at the moment, which is dealing with these guys right here. Specifically, the ones that I let out in order to get my iron farm going, because I've made this mistake right here. So I think now it's just going to be the matter of me trying very carefully, hopefully, to get some of these guys down and where they need to be. So let's do that, and all the while, hopefully, this is going to be working, and if I need to, I will start doing even more mob proofing. But let's just do a little bit of a time lapse and show the struggles of dealing with these villagers. And after way too long of dealing with all of the villager shenanigans, we do have pretty much every single spot filled up, with the exception of these two right here. But that will come later. So I think now is just the time for a little bit more AFK and a little bit more trading, just to try to make these guys masters. Maybe if I can get lucky, I can get a weakening arrow as the Fletcher master, but I don't actually anticipate that happening. So instead, what I need to do is to just continue making these guys toolsmiths, weaponsmiths, armorers, and I do have 3 books upstairs, so I do also need to make, at the very least, a few librarians. That way I can get mending, perhaps unbreaking, that sort of a thing, and, of course, more books. But I don't think I'm going to show you every bit of that. Instead, I'm going to cut to when I've got most of this done, and you can see the progress that I've made. I don't know if I'm going to have it decorated by then, but maybe by that point I will be motivated to do so. Well, you know how I said I was going to make every one of these villagers a profession and then come back to you? Well, I didn't do that, and instead got incredibly distracted once again. You can actually kind of see how long this distraction has gone on. Let me just do an F3B. It's honestly a little ridiculous, but I did some mining, and I can hear you saying this already. Now, Roach, how can you do mining? This is a one chunk challenge. Well, I figured out a way. And a way that you will see right here. That's not all the way done, of course, but it is pretty darn close. Well, not really pretty darn close to being all the way done, but it is pretty well along. And basically the reason for this is I was just not motivated to do villager stuff. I'd already done a fair bit. And I started to do a little bit of strip mining and then just decided, you know what? I don't think I want to do that anymore. I'm going to clear this out. And it has actually worked quite well. So let me get all the way back up to the top, or at least where I actually started mining straight down. And we will just take a look. And here we are. See, I did start doing it layer by layer. In fact, once I got to about this layer, I decided I would start recording, but I did get a fair bit done above us as well. So let's just go ahead and take a look at that time lapse, and then I'll be back in, I don't know, 10 seconds or so. And just like that, we got all of this done. That little 10-second time lapse made this look a whole lot easier. But I do believe this is just about all the time I have left for this episode. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!